Hello and welcome to the Superior Comic Show, your weekly Irish pop culture show, where no, we do not want to talk about Batman and Fortnite. I'm your host, Peter, and joining me on the show today from one of the biggest comic shops in Ireland, we have Bruno from Big Bang Comics. Thank you for coming on the
Oh,
show.
yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
So I mentioned it there, we don't want to talk about it, so we're going to scratch off any Batman Fortnite stuff.
No, look, if people want to talk about Batman Fortnite, I'm happy to talk about Batman Fortnite. But let's just do it now and get it out of the way.
Yeah, so what is going on? It just seems crazy.
So basically, DC Comics released a comic called Batman Fortnite. And like the name implies, it's a meeting of Batman in the Fortnite world. But more importantly, it includes a code for a skin that you can't get in the game at the moment unless you get the comic. And when this was first announced a couple of months ago, a lot of retailers didn't really thought it was anything big or important because they didn't realize how big Fortnite is, how massive Fortnite is. But and so there was a lot of shops that really didn't order a lot of them. We ordered a lot of them, or we thought it was a lot of them, because my business partner's John, his son, is big into Fortnite. So this is a big thing that they're gonna want it. And we had very few orders for it at first, and then starting last Friday, and I think it's when the YouTubers started talking about it, we started getting a few phone calls, a few emails, and then on Tuesday when it was out there, it was like the gates just opened, and it was nonstop phone calls and emails. It just kept coming. You'd be putting the phone down, be ringing straight up again. I was joking on Twitter that seriously we should be called Batman Fortnite Comics on the phone, because that's all that people wanted from us. And it's probably a thing that we've never seen anything like this in years and years of comics. And we've talked to other retailers and they're saying the same thing. The amount of interest is off the charts.
I was about to ask, had you ever seen anything like it before?
It's scary. It's we could have ordered twice what we did of a quite a large order, and we'd probably be selling out in a couple of days anyways. And it's definitely been the thing where a lot of it's driven by the skin.
Yeah.
I'm pretty. We've had people going, look, just give me the code for the skin. You can give the comic away if you want. I just want the code for the skin. But I'm hoping that there's a lot of people that are going to be reading a comic for the first time.
Yeah.
And going, you know what? Batman's kind of cool. I like Catwoman. I like this, and then maybe move on to more comics. That's our hope.
That would be the hope with the interest. That was hopefully it's inspiring a whole new generation of comic readers, and we can keep the industry rolling here in Ireland.
Oh yeah, like we all started somewhere reading comics, and a lot of people started reading comics because of, say, the X-Men cartoon or the Batman cartoon, and maybe there's like the Batman cartoon of their generation, something that outside that pulls them in and goes, oh wow, comics! I didn't know they were this good.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to see it. I got into comics because of the Spider-Man cartoon, and
oh yeah. Again, we know people that are into comics just because of all the cartoon series, because they didn't even know it was a comic.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I dived in at first in the very controversial world of Ultimate Comics.
Ultimate Comics back then, they were a massive thing that got in so many new people into comics because it was a brand new jumping on point.
Yeah.
I know it's quite scary. There's been 50 years of Marvel. But look, here's a new issue 1. You can start a brand new story with Spider-Man from the very beginning. Here's the Avengers from the very beginning. And things like those because our comics are such a scary industry in the sense that there's so much of it and there's so many years of it. If you watch a TV show, you might jump in and there might be 4 seasons or whatever, but then you're caught up in 2 weekends and you're ready to go. Comics, there's 80 years worth of story. And people come into the shop and they go, I didn't realize it was going to be this massive, that there's so much stuff. And if you have something like the Ultimate Comics back then, it makes it a lot easier for you to try something and jump into something and go, I can do this. Here's an issue 1. As opposed to, it's issue 874.
Exactly. It's comics as well. I find sometimes if you miss a couple of weeks or a couple of issues, you're kind of to a point where you're like, I've no idea what's going on right now.
The closest thing to comics that we have, and then people laugh, but it's true, it's soap operas. It's something like EastEnders. It's something like Coronation Streets. It's something where if you miss like a week of episodes, you're going to be so lost because the evil twin brother came back and killed the daughter of the villain or something of the sort. And comics are like that. There's so much about comics, and it's easy to miss something and then just go, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just such a wide variety. And in Ireland, you've been on for a long time now. You've probably watched the industry and the interest in comics in Ireland grow over the years. I know it's still growing to this day, but it's gotten bigger and bigger as time's gone on.
See, there's the shop as it is now, it exists for 10 years. Before that, so my business partner, John Hendrick, he used to have a shop, the third place. So we're going back 15 years, more than that. So we've seen a lot of stuff during that period. There's a lot of people now doing comics that we knew from when they were younger fans. And the industry in Ireland, as both in terms of creating comics and consuming comics, it's so different from what it used to be. It's so much bigger. And even in terms of people buying more comics, it's also because people are now more familiar with comics because of the Marvel movies, the DC movies, all the TV shows. They open the eyes of so many people to, here's another amazing art form that I didn't even know existed. But I've watched the trailer for Deadpool, and I want to know more about this guy.
Yeah, that was my next question: is do you give any credit to the movies for getting in all these new fans and making?
Oh yeah, at the point that you have something that all of a sudden exposes comics to a bajillion people, it's gonna get massive. It's not that every person that watches a movie buys a comic, but if 5% buy a comic, it's a massive industry change.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things about the movie and comic connection is it's not really movies that sell more comics, it's trailers for the movies.
Yeah.
People see a trailer, they get excited and they want to know more, and they come in to look for a comic about Deadpool or Batman or Watchmen. Whereas when the movie comes out, they're like, oh, I've watched the movie, I know what the story is. And that they're less inclined to go and actually buy a comic afterwards.
Yeah, it's like it happened to me with a few characters. Like I had no interest, I'm going to be honest here, with Captain America. I had no interest in reading Captain America. He wasn't my cup of tea until, like you said, the trailer for the first Avenger came out, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll read a little bit more on Captain America now. So I 100% agree with what you're saying, because I am one of those people that got into it young because of trailers.
It's the excitement of it, and you see something new and you want to know more about it, and all of a sudden you go, wait, but there's 4 books here that have like stories with this character I just heard about.
Yeah.
And you're ready to jump into and just get into it right there.
And I see Marvel do a lot of this, and DC do it as well, where almost like rebooting the comics. Like you have Marvel now with their legacy numbers. DC had the new 52. That's obviously a push to get new readers in. But I've heard a lot of kind of the diehard readers haven't been happy with the almost reboots.
Diehard readers are never happy. And that goes for comics or diehard fans of movies or anything like that. But when it comes to the reboots, it's something that any big company will do every now and again, because they get to the point where, like I was saying before, right, we have 700 issues of this comic. It's very scary for a new reader. Let's start from issue 1 and let's give them like Batman a new origin, and let's make it friendly for new readers. Yeah. Now, if you're someone that's been reading that comic for the last 20 years, you're going to be annoyed. Yeah. Because you're going to go, oh, but all the stuff I've read, it's meaningless now. It isn't. No one's going into your house to steal the comics you enjoyed. They're all there. All the books you love, they're still there. All the movies you loved, all the cartoons you loved, they're still there. It's just making it easier for whoever's coming along next, opening doors for new readers, for a new fan base. And a lot of times even creating new ways of telling the story that you as a fan might enjoy, but you have to be open to enjoying new things and not just be fixated on the old.
Yeah, and in terms of, you mentioned them there, and I mentioned my favorite. Batman and Spider-Man are kind of, they go down as like the most popular comic characters between the two companies. Do you see that in terms of the figures of sales, or are there other more popular
Batman,
characters?
definitely. Batman is, we've always been a very big Batman store, and Batman is our best-selling comic on an ongoing basis. The normal Batman comic. For Marvel, it depends, because sometimes it's Spider-Man, sometimes it's the X-Men. It depends on what's popular at the time, but their Spider-Man is definitely up there in the industry as one of the most popular characters.
Yeah, and your head must spin with the amount of ongoings. I'm pretty sure Spider-Man has like 4 or 5 going at the minute.
It is, but it's also one of the things that happens, because you go, oh, there's like 7 books featuring Batman or 8 books featuring Superman, but every book, it's a different book and tells a different story, and it's maybe like a different character, a different take on the character. It's Batman doing this, it's Superman doing that. They're not the same book. They're not the same thing over and over again. They're just new stories with the same characters. And that happens because Batman is really popular. Spider-Man is really popular, and Marvel and DC see this as a way of making easy money compared to having to try a new character that they're not sure about. They go, well, if people are already buying Batman, let's give them more Batman and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I suppose if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And that's the way they see it. And you as a fan, you might go, but I want to see something new. I want to see something exciting. But when you're the publisher, when you're the person spending millions of dollars, they want something safe. And so they're going to put out 3 Batman books because they know what they're going to sell of Batman. It's going to be worth the amount of money being spent versus what they might sell of a brand new character. And that's literally at the end of the day, and people get very annoyed because they think it's personal. They think, they don't do this thing about this character because they hate me. It's not. It's someone looking at a spreadsheet and going, if we do it this way, if we put another 2.7 Batman books a month, we make 3.2% more. And that's it. That's all there. It's all numbers.
Yeah, it's all kind of facts and figures. And now onto the kind of question that I have there on the yoke, how has COVID affected the comic industry? Have you seen a drop in numbers, or have you seen an increase? Because I know a lot of people who got into comics now over COVID as something to do.
It's been a bit of both, because our way of doing business has changed drastically in the last year. Being close to the public means that there's a lot of things that we used to do that we can't do anymore. People can just walk in and see a random comic and go, oh, I'll give this a go. We can only sell stuff online on our websites. So people need to go and look for something. And so we're missing out on the random sales, the random people going, oh, I didn't even know this was in stock. I'm going to give it a try. It's also different in terms of every single transaction we do now. It's something that needs to be posted out. So it needs to be packaged, ready to go, processed, all these things. It's a lot more time spent per transaction. And we've been doing this for a long time. And a lot of what we do is selling stuff to people that trust us. And that trust is built by a personal relationship. When you come to the counter, I'm going to know, oh, you buy this comic, you buy that comic, you might like this one. And we've lost all of that. We can't do that. We can do that over email, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of what we do is a personal touch that you don't get in other shops, in other, Amazon, whatever. We do what we do a lot better than those places. And what we're seeing now, it's all these things coming together and making our life incredibly more complicated. Luckily we're doing okay. We're not bad. Now, obviously, we'd be a lot better if we're open to the public. We're not there yet. We don't know if it's going to be another month, another 2 months. We just have to wait. But we're lucky that we're here. We're lucky that we're still going strong. We're lucky that we still are able to, keep our doors open, so to speak. That we didn't have to let go any of our staff. We're selling more action figures than ever, for example, and that is, I think, because people are home and they're looking at all these things with a bit more nostalgia, and they go, "Oh, I'm gonna try this." But we're selling less comics, we're selling less graphic novels. So yeah, we're making more money on the one side, we're making less money on the other side. So we're all right. I know shops that are doing very well in the US, for example,
Yeah.
and that's where you see most of these reports. But it's also because there you had people getting those stimulus checks,
Yeah.
and they were getting like $1,400, and a lot of people were spending that money on comics and back issues and stashes and stuff. Unfortunately, that didn't happen over here.
No.
But again, I think the Irish industry, or the Irish comics retail industry, is doing well, and I think we all the shops work really hard to be able to get through this. But we're all really hoping for the shops to be open again
Yeah,
as soon as
no,
possible.
I was in like every time I've come into Big Bang, I've had a positive experience with all the staff, and it is that human touch. Like I remember, I went in. I'm sure you're missing having the guest signings as well. I remember going in when Donny Cates was in there, and
Yeah.
I just had an amazing time. The staff were amazing. They were recommending stuff for me. They're always coming by to check, make sure everyone was doing good. Who was queuing up?
And look, we do that because we want your money, and that's that's the God's honest truth. But we think that as a customer, if you have a good experience in the shop, if you feel welcomed, you're gonna enjoy your trip, and you're gonna come back and spend more money. It's simple. It's very mercenary, but it is what it is. We do miss having those signings and having the crack with with the guests and customers, and it's all so much fun. And it's something that we've been asked, when you think it's going to happen again. I don't know. I don't know when we're going to be able to do it again that way, because there's no point doing it if you're not doing it properly.
Yeah.
So we have to look into like whenever it's going to be safe again to do an in-store events, whenever it's going to be safe again to fly a guest in from the US. There's all these things to think about. But definitely, as soon as we can, we'll do something like that.
We get one of those big glass boxes the Pope uses when he goes on visits, and just stick the guest in one of those with a little box.
Like a little Pope table for Tony Cates whenever he comes back or something.
Well,
But even for the talents, they're dying to meet people again. They all really miss Comic Cons, because so much of what they enjoy about doing comics is getting that feedback from people at a show. And we talk to so many comic professionals, and they all say they really miss the human touch, like meeting people at signings, at events, at Comic Cons, and getting to see, wow, actually, I touched someone with this comic I wrote.
Yeah, I can imagine every creator I've spoken to on the show has basically echoed what you said, that they are missing that interaction with the fans in person rather than just online. And it's been hard on them too. I think sometimes people forget that it's been hard on the creators, and they're stuck. A lot of them have lost their routines of how they write. I know some of them go out for walks or they go do something to actually get that muse, and they've lost that now.
It is like, we all got put into a position of strangeness where, we sometimes don't know what day of the week it is anymore. Days blend in together, everything's a bit weird. And that goes for people who work, for people at home, for people trying to write a comic, and all these things are happening in the world. And it's obviously going to be hard. And losing that sense of normalcy, that being open to the public, or being able to go to a signing or a comic show, like, there are things that back then we didn't realize how important they were, that we always took for granted. But now we go, you know what? That's actually really important. I miss that.
Yeah, like I was an introvert before COVID. I didn't want to go anywhere, but as soon as I was told I wasn't allowed, it's like I want to go places now.
If you're telling me I can't go, I want to go now.
Yeah.
Screw you. Yeah.
So WandaVision, we had a lot during COVID. Marvel have finally given us some content. We got WandaVision, and then we got Falcon the Winter Soldier. And on DC side, we had the Snyder Cut. Have you seen anything in orders that kind of shows that these shows and movies have had an impact?
No, we always get like orders for stuff, but like I said, it's more when the trailers come out, because people are excited for something and they want to read before. And then when you have like the show or the movie, it's not as big as the trailers. No, we definitely got more orders for books with the Vision and books with the Scarlet Witch, and we're seeing them now for the Winter Soldier and Falcon. Just like not so much because it was a movie that already came out years ago, and it's just like a new take. But there's always like, you know, when Wonder Woman 1984 came out, we get a little uptake on Wonder Woman sales. So it's always an ongoing thing. There's always people kind of finding these movies and TV shows for the first time. And because, you know, now it's streaming, you just click a button and there's a movie from 3 years ago right there for you to watch. And there's so many people that do contact us going, I'm looking for something because I watched this movie, I watched this TV show. What do you recommend? What can I go from there?
Yeah, and have you been keeping up with the shows? And
I have to. It's professionally. You know, we have to watch basically everything, and it is a lot easier now than what it used to be, because before, when we're open to the public, you have to watch them before someone spoiled them on you, because people will be coming in the shop, and they could literally just go, "Did you see this thing? This moment where this thing happened?" And you go, "Not yet, thank you." Or you'd be seeing a lot of orders coming in for a particular book or something. You go, what happened now? What happened with this guy? Like, why are people looking for this? So we always all made the point of trying to see these things as early as possible. So yeah, I've watched the Snyder Cut. I've watched, like, you know, I'm watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I've watched WandaVision, and they've all been really good so far. I think we don't realize how blessed we are as comic fans. Like, I'm 41. So I remember when all we had was Blade, the movie, or, you know, something like that, or first those X-Men movies, and they kind of went from there. And now we have so many amazing, mind-blowing movies and TV shows that we take things for granted. We don't realize how awesome they are. But we are living in a golden age of comics-related content. And that is always going to trickle down a bit to the comic stores, and people will be looking for those books because of all these amazing movies.
Yeah, even like I'm 27, even looking now at the kids nowadays, I'm like, you have so much stuff where you have, back when I was younger, I had the X-Men movies, Blade, and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was kind of all we got. There's no kind of...
When I was younger as a kid, if I missed an episode of whatever on the telly, I'll have to watch for them to replay it again someday. You know, it wouldn't be, now it's like, oh, click, there you are. Here's 7 seasons of this cartoon you used to love. Which it's so different. And again, and people just take it for granted these days, especially like the younger people. But we are blessed.
Yeah, even
as long as you like superheroes.
Yeah, true. Even with the likes of Disney Plus now, all the streaming services, you just have your childhood at your fingertips, and then the future's there as well.
Yeah, it's almost too much, because, you know, when you have too much of something, you don't think it's as important. Whereas, you know, when you only have like one cartoon on a Saturday morning once a week, it's the highlight of your week, and you're going to live for that. Where now you can just go, here's Netflix, here's Disney Plus, here's Amazon Prime, here's, you know, whatever. It's nonstop.
Yeah, I think that's, for that reason, I think Marvel are doing it right by releasing episodes weekly rather than just giving us them all in one kind of...
No, and that was something that was very smart, and that was something that Star Wars did really well with The Mandalorian. Instead of just going, here's the entire thing, and dumping everything in our laps, they make you wait for it. And it's a lot better, because even that week apart, you can talk to your friends. You can, you know, you see this thing, what do you think this means? I mean, all of this, there's always like what they call the water cooler moments, when you can talk to your friends and about something that happens while you're waiting for the next episode. It just makes it so much more enjoyable.
Exactly, it makes it worth the wait. Like, I'd be on TikTok watching all the theories and all now between episodes.
Whereas before you'd be like, okay, so you're on episode 6, but I'm on 8, so we can't talk about the show because I've seen stuff that you haven't. Whereas, hello?
Yeah, sorry, just moved.
No problem.
Cut off
so before, you know, it could be the thing where you're on episode 6, and your friend is on episode 8, and you can really talk about things because one will be a spoiler and the other one, you know, you want to know where both of us are. Whereas now it's like, no, We've all seen it. We have a week until the next one. What do you think about it?
Yeah, and have you been? Sorry, I'm just trying to get the video back working on me there. Have you been the same as I've been with work colleagues? I've been with the crazy fan theories and watching and trying to guess what's going to come next.
Absolutely. Again, it is part of our job, and it's just not a matter of enjoyment, but it's also knowing what's coming in terms of, okay, if this thing is important, we need to have this book in stock. If this character pops up, people are going to be looking for this thing. So it's not just enjoyment as a fan, but it's also a more critical, professional look at it, if you know what I mean, because we need to know how is it going to affect us, because we sell these things.
Yeah.
If this thing happens, okay, we need to have this action figure in stock. All these things. It's not just like, ooh, it's cool. It's like, okay, we need to make money out of this. What do we do now?
Yeah. So have you started stacking up on Thunderbolts figures and comics yet? That seems to be the big theory going around now around Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
My theory is more aimed at the Young Avengers, that they're going to build up the Young Avengers slowly until they actually get to that point. Thunderbolts will be very interesting. I'm not sure if we have enough villains in the Marvel Universe to get there yet, or at least enough alive villains to get there yet. But I 100% trust Marvel with what they're doing. Everything they've been doing so far, it's been brilliant, and it's all been worth it. As a fan, you feel like you're rewarded for watching those shows. As a newcomer, you don't feel lost or not completely lost. It's enjoyable for new fans, for old fans, enjoyable for people that like comics, people that don't like comics. Marvel are doing an amazing job at getting these things out there for people to enjoy. And we as fans and as retailers have nothing but great words for them.
Yeah, and with Marvel as well, it's kind of, in my eyes, I know they had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix shows years ago, but in my eyes, it was about time they started catching up. DC kind of had the monopoly on the TV shows kind of over the last
I
10
think
years.
a part of it was because like those shows were Marvel, but Marvel in air quotes.
Yeah.
They weren't overseen by Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige has been the driving force behind the MCU. Kevin Feige has been, if you put it in comic terms, Kevin Feige has been the editor-in-chief of the MCU. He's the guy that pulling all the strings, and all these other shows that weren't overseen by him, they suffered from that. That they weren't as good as they could have been.
Yeah, no, and now all the rumors are coming in about possibly the likes of Daredevil coming back into the MCU now through No Way Home.
It's one of those things where he's such a popular character that there's someone out there going, right, we have to find a way of making this work.
Yeah.
And Marvel and DC are doing two very different things in terms of their properties, where Marvel is like, we have one unified story and it's all the one big event going on. DC are like, no, we have 17 Batman movies. They're all like a multiverse. It's fine. Flash, yeah, we have 3 of them. It's grand. Doesn't matter. Marvel like, no, we have to make this fit into this one story. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're going to do to actually make it work. But I think if anyone can, they can, because they've shown so far they have a great understanding of how to handle characters and how to handle fans and how to make it work in a way that no one feels disappointed.
Yeah, and I think they're toying with us now a little bit. Like a lot of people, especially in terms of how they're going to introduce the X-Men, because first we had Ralph Bohner, and now in Falcon and the Winter Soldier we had Madripoor. It just almost seems like Feige's just kind of leaving a breadcrumb trail for us.
It's going to be so hard to do it.
Yeah.
Because, it's not like we're starting the Marvel Universe from scratch and showing now this is a fully grown Marvel Universe with characters that have been around for years. And they can't just go, oh yeah, behind the curtain. Yeah, the mutants. Did not mention the X-Men. It's just over there. And I don't know if they're going to use like the multiverse to bring them in. I don't know if they're literally just going to go, mutants are just something that started right now, or they're starting, here's the first teenagers with powers. But Madripoor was really exciting to see, and I kept waiting to see like a little cameo from Patch, which is Wolverine when he's living in Madripoor back in the day, and unfortunately that never happened. But the fact that, like I said, that they're dropping these things, they're building up to something, and I think we fans are all in for it. No matter what they do, we're just gonna wait and see, and just hopefully be really surprised.
Yeah. I think what were used like, especially in WandaVision with the Ralph Boner reveal, I know fans kind of had one of two reactions. It was either people were laughing or people were mad. I was basically, in terms of Feige and teasing us and then just basically making a joke out of it, I was just like Quicksilver in Age of Ultron. You didn't see that coming.
My thing with that, I think people had so many of their own theories. People made so many head canons about, here's the way the show is gonna go. It's Mephisto. It's this thing. It's that thing. And then when he wasn't, they got mad and disappointed. Whereas I was more like, I'm going to enjoy the show for what it is. And it's hard sometimes when you're like a fan of the comics, when you've read the comics, especially like, I've read all of these comics that the shows are based on. I've read a lot of stuff through the years. Too much stuff, some might say. And so in my head, I'm always making theories of, okay, so this guy comes in, so that's going to mean that this person's going to be evil and all these things. And I have to try to switch off that part of my brain while watching it, because I'm always overthinking things. Like someone will mention something, like some name. I go, wait, it's that person from Avengers 38 from 70 years ago. And, that's no sane way of enjoying these things.
Yeah.
Well, I found it quite funny, what they did with Quicksilver. And, there was the initial gasp of, oh my God, it's Quicksilver from Age of Ultron. And then when they just went totally away from that, I was laughing because it was such a feint. And it was so funny to see the people that got so annoyed, so pissed off at it because of it. Because how dare you tease, like, how dare you not do the thing I thought you were going to do?
Yeah,
but
it was
not much you can do there.
It was the most expensive D joke in history, I think.
But when you're Marvel, you can do it. You can do whatever. It's like even years ago when they announced they're doing Guardians of the Galaxy, and everyone's like, "Wait, what? That comic with the talking tree and the raccoon? Like, yeah, we're doing that. That's never gonna work." And it worked. They made millions of dollars, and I think they showed there that they were going to do whatever they wanted, wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted, and we as fans were going to lap it up. They know what they're doing.
They can take these characters from the C, D, E list and just milk them for a couple of $100 million.
But that's the thing, Marvel has so many characters, and obviously not every character is going to be a Spider-Man or a Captain America. There's a lot of lower rung, like Iron Man wasn't a big character until the movies. The only reason why Marvel got to do Iron Man back in the day was because no one else wanted to do Iron Man. So they own Iron Man and Thor and Captain America because they weren't popular characters. They made them popular with the movies. So there's, the next we're going to see the Eternals. We're going to see Shang-Chi, Black Widow, which is a part of the Avengers. But again, you probably could call like a B character. But they can take all these smaller characters and elevate them just by being Marvel. They go, here you go, here's a new summer blockbuster. It's going to be the Eternals. You've never heard of them. Doesn't matter. You're going to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like Guardians of the Galaxy. I was not too familiar. I knew they existed, but wasn't too familiar. And then it came out and just was incredible. One of their best.
Did you ever hear about the Eternals? Do you know who they are? The Eternals.
I haven't a clue. I'm gonna be honest. I've read up a bit now since it was announced, but before this, I hadn't a clue.
Are you going to watch it?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Marvel.
They have me on a string. They know they'll throw this out, and as you said, people are gonna lap it up. They're gonna make their money, and people are gonna look forward to the next one.
Marvel Studios were incredibly smart in the way they've been handling this, because they're making it into like the one big story. So it starts in Iron Man and it just keeps going. So you feel compelled to go see the next chapter because you know that somehow the Eternals are going to tie into whatever happens. Shang-Chi is going to happen in this corner of the Marvel Universe, but in the end, it's all going to be tied up together with the things down the line, we're going to have whatever, Avengers 7, and it's going to be Shang-Chi and Spider-Man and Ironheart or something. So you have to watch all these to know what's going on. You have to watch the next chapter.
Yeah, and even at that, like I know the Avengers game didn't do too well on PlayStation. I know people were giving out about it, but even at that, it's still selling because now when these new shows were announced, like Hawkeye and with Miss Marvel and Ironheart, now they're just throwing them characters in as downloadable content in the game, and people are still lapping it up.
People want to be a part of it, and playing a video game, it's the closest you're actually going to be to being in that universe. Until we really develop virtual reality a bit more, a game, it's the only way you can be Miss Marvel. It's the only way you can be Iron Man. So even though that game kind of bombed, it's still popular enough to keep going because there's so many new characters that they can just keep having.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember the exact number, but the actual library of Marvel characters numbers in the tens of thousands. So characters that they can actually use. And all they need to do is keep creating new movies, new cartoons, new series. And there's always more content for more video games, more podcasts, more everything. It never stops.
Yeah, and out of them tens of thousands, I'm sure about 50% are spider characters. We have a lot of those.
And the rest are probably mutants.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is, yeah.
And then just Tony Stark, just having a drink at the pub.
And that was literally what was back then, like what I was saying, it's Sony owned the rights for the Spider-Man movies, Fox owned the rights for the X-Men movies, because they were the most popular Marvel properties back in the 90s. No one cared about the Avengers. No one cared about Thor or Iron Man or S.H.I.E.L.D., whatever. It was only when Marvel started doing those movies that people started caring for them. So even someone, a character now that might not be popular enough, to have their own book or have their own game or TV show, it might get elevated all of a sudden because of Marvel going, let's do like a spin-off. That's it.
Yeah. So look, even now, Shang-Chi, the trailer just dropped, and now he has a new...
It looks amazing, by the way. I didn't know what to expect from that movie. That movie looks amazing.
It looks incredible. And now he has a new solo book coming out.
Yeah, so the Shang-Chi as a character is been around for a long time, since the 70s. It's one of those characters, it was created back during the Kung Fu craze, Bruce Lee, all those things. And it's been around for a long time. Is at his series, he's got canceled, he's been part of different teams. A year ago, they came up with a new series for him, because they also do these things because they know that by the time the movie comes out, they want to have something to sell. So that, like, there's a book right now, which is the series from last year, but that's going to get a sequel and a sequel and go from there, because they try to tie in comic appearances to upcoming movies. So, when the Black Widow movie was meant to be released last year, there was already a few books waiting for the movie, and they're doing the same thing with Shang-Chi. There's a new Eternals comic that's coming out right now for when the new movie comes out. So they always try to have a bit of synergy between the publishing part and the movie part.
Yeah, and it's just like you said, it's Marvel are just, especially now being run by Disney too, they have probably the smartest individuals in terms of marketing and in terms of growing their product there, that it's just, I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I can see, and it's probably good for you as well for business with these lots of new trailers.
It is, and people used to say, "Oh, there's no way this superhero bubble is going to keep on going," and they're saying that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and they're saying that like last week, where it just keeps growing and growing and growing. It does not stop. And it's not only just that Marvel are doing it, DC are doing it. We're just seeing now in the Invincible cartoon on Amazon Prime. That's from a comic from Image Comics. The Walking Dead was a massive thing. That was a comic. There's all these properties that keep getting snapped up from comics to be turned into movies and TV shows. And it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, so a bit to ask, you mentioned Image there. Other than Marvel and DC, what would be your most popular publisher or comic?
Okay, this is actually going to be a big surprise for a lot of people, but some of our most popular comics aren't superhero comics. and they're not mature adult comics. They're comics for kids. We sell a lot of kids comics, and people tend to forget that because comics aren't for kids anymore. That's not exactly right. There's so many comics for kids, and there's so many popular comics for kids. There's one creator, and she's called Raina Telgemeier, and I'm probably butchering her name, but she outsells Marvel and DC by herself. And this is not something that you'd think of, but her latest book had a print run of, I can remember, it was like 5 million copies or something of a graphic novel. But she's selling to the book market, the library market. She's selling to kids, to preteens. Or Dogman, for example. You probably know Dogman. Everyone has probably seen Dogman. That sells millions of copies. Superheroes overall are actually in the publishing world of comics. They do quite well, but they're a very niche thing. They're very niche markets. Something like, do you ever see that European comic called Asterix and Obelix?
Yeah.
Right. So the last book by Asterix, I think, had a print run in French, the original version, of 36 million copies. These are numbers that people don't really realize. Comics are a massive, massive thing. Like, if you think about manga, My Hero Academia or something like that, we're talking millions of copies all over the world. Comics as an art form, they're massive. We just don't think of them because we think of comics as being Marvel and DC and Captain America and so on. But comics are so much more. If you think of something like Calvin and Hobbes, that's a comic. And that's a comic that has sold, I don't know how many millions of copies through the years. So there's all these comics we sell that are just not Marvel and DC. But when it comes to what we call the direct market, which is the term for comic book stores as we know them, especially in America, and they'll be very focused on, like I said, Marvel, DC, Image, Boom. Our number 2 publisher, it's sort of a tie between Image and another smaller publisher called Boom Comics. And they're the ones doing like sort of indie books by different creators telling their own stories. And they're the ones where you see a lot of the cool new books happening. Because Marvel and DC, they're also very, here are the characters here's your Batmans, here's your things. We're going to tell new stories with them, but there's only so much we can do because at the end of the day, we're corporations. Like Disney and Warner Brothers don't want you to, kill Batman forever or something. That's never going to happen. Whereas when you're writing The Walking Dead for Image Comics, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you watch Invincible, which is also by the same writer of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, I haven't watched the actual series yet, but the cartoon where it's coming from, it's bonkers. So much stuff happens that will never be allowed to happen in a Marvel comic. And it's because people at Image have full ownership of their comics. They can do whatever they want. You're saying Donny Cates. So Donny Cates, when he's doing his Image comics, if you think Donny Cates doing Marvel is already crazy, if you read his Image stuff, is unstoppable because literally he can do whatever he wants. And Boom are another publisher that are doing some really great books. And you might have heard of Berserker, which is the one written by Keanu Reeves. There's Something is Killing the Children, which is a great horror book. There are all these books that you might not know unless you go into a comic shop and see it. But they're where a lot of the exciting stuff is happening right now. It's these crazy creators just doing stuff with no limits, no barriers, just going out there and telling the best stories they can.
Yeah, there's a few indie comics I used to love by Irish creators. There was I don't know if you heard of The Bog Road by Barry Keegan was I love that. And Declan Shalvey, who I had on a while back, I've read his stuff. And then there was Nick Roach with Scare and Hood. And it is, like you said, there's so many comics out there that aren't about superpowered beings. There's horror comics, there's comics that basically mirror reality almost, and there's your kids stuff.
When people think that comics are just superheroes, it's like if you went into a bookstore thinking that all books are Harry Potter books.
Superhero
comics are a small slice of the big comics book. There's so much more stuff out there. And you're talking about some of the Irish talent, like Declan Shalvey, Nick Roach, we have Will Sliney, Stephen Mooney, so many more people that are doing stuff in America. And we have like writers like, Declan's actually more of a writer now than an artist. You have colorists, you have letters. There's so many people in Irish comics that are now in worldwide comics. They're doing stuff all over the world. And it's amazing to see how things have changed in the last 10 years for all of them. And a lot of them, even though they grew up on superhero stuff, if you ask Declan will tell you his number one thing is to be able to like a Daredevil book.
Yeah.
Well, as a creator, he probably has a lot more joy about writing his own book and creating his own universe. It's like Nick Roach, he loves Transformers, but doing Scaring to is a lot more personal and unique for him. And I think it's something that really makes people bring their A game in doing their best. It's when they're telling their own stories. And it's something we're seeing more and more from a lot of the Irish talents. Seeing people like Trina or Rebecca or Dervla who are coloring all these amazing books for all these, and they're doing for Marvel, DC, and Image. And seeing, Stephen Mooney doing his books, and Kevin Keane will be doing something for Spawn soon. It's so crazy to see the amount of Irish talent that's getting out there.
Yeah, and it's very uplifting, I think, for people coming through in Ireland who want to write comics or draw comics. It's
one of the things we have in Ireland, and we're very lucky about, is that the talent that exists right now is incredibly helpful of new talents. We've heard this from American and UK people telling us that over there it's different. It's very dog eat dog in the sense that, I don't want you to do well because you can take my job. Whereas here, like someone like Will Sliney will go on RTE and tell you how to draw, or Twitch or whatever. Declan or Nick or Stephen will take their time to talk to a young fan and give them tips on how to draw, how to do this, how to do that. It's very different. I think the local comic scene is so helpful, and they really just want to see more people going to do the books that they want to do in America or the UK or whatever. Declan Shalvey is using his, I don't want to say power because I'll make him, his head a bit swollen, but his fame, so to speak, to bring people like Roy McConville up and give them more opportunities that they might not get otherwise. It's these guys taking their platform to bring Irish creators up with them and go, look at this, Ireland, there's a lot of amazing people. Take a chance on us.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's almost like a big community. Like Will, who you mentioned, was actually one of the first guests I had on the show and was amazing. I was still this college student who was nervous, and I messed up the recording 3 times, and he still came back the 4th time and re-recorded with me. I was
that
so
sounds exactly like him. Yeah,
just incredible. It's the Irish scene, and like you said, it is. You hear a lot of about the dog eat dog in the UK and America, and it's when you're in our little bubble here in our little island, it's hard to believe because everyone is just so sound to each other.
Through the years, we've done so many events, and be it Comic Cons or signings or anything, and a lot of times, we go out for a pint in the pub, and there's never the VIP area section, where all the pros are. We try to get everyone to talk to each other. And that goes from, when we have Declan Shalvey or when we have like Tony Cates or whatever, we want people ideally to be able to talk to these people they admire and be able to learn from them. Because the pros that you admire now were one day fans. And they were one day where you were right now, nervous, kind of going, oh my God, I can't believe it's that person over there. Do I go and talk to them? They all know what that was like. And in our experience, they all want to welcome you as much as they can. One of the best experiences we've ever had with guests years ago, 2014 maybe, when we had Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo as part of a show over here. And at the time, they were doing Batman, which was like the biggest book out there. And we had them for a show, one of our events, Dice, here in Dundrum, and we didn't know what to expect because, never met them personally. Are they going to be sound? Are they going to be, arrogant because they're number one? And they come in and they were the nicest, most down-to-earth people. All they wanted to do was talk to the fans. We had a Batman panel, and we could only sit like 100 people in the cinema for that. And they knew there was like another 100 people that couldn't get in, and they offered to do a second panel saying the exact same things to a different audience. And Scott said, look, man, I remember being the guy there sitting in and Scott kept showing people stuff that he shouldn't about upcoming books. Here's Batman's new costume, here's this, here's that. And he's like, I remember being that kid that really wanted to know these things and couldn't. And he was so joyful about it, about being able to be finally that person that could talk to the kids and, yeah, comics are amazing, man. Let me share my comics with you. And the vast majority of the people we've met through the years in the comics industry are like that. They really just want to share their love of what they do with fans.
It's incredible what comics can do for people. Like myself, growing up, I was introverted, laden, anxiety. I was a mess, and I found my comfort through Spider-Man and found friends through Spider-Man and comics. And then now I'm doing this podcast. I'm talking to creators who, every time I get on the podcast, I'm nervous. I'm like, what are they going to be like? And they're exactly like you say. It like scariest one I had Ron Mars and Andy Lanning on just before Justice League Endless Winter started, and I had to go through the DC publicity office through email, and I was like, oh my god, what's this going to be like? This is the first time I've had to talk to the publications office.
It's all very, very professional sounding and everything.
Yeah, and they got on and they just had a laugh. They just had a nice little chat. We had a bit of banter, and then that was that. Me and Ron still interact every now and again on Twitter.
Yeah, see, for a lot of these people, they're so, someone like Ron Mars, who's been in the industry for so long, he's talked to so many fans through the years. He's done so many cons, so many signings, that at no point is he going to go, oh, whatever, these guys. They want to meet the fans and they want to make sure that you have a good experience. Because, again, and it kind of goes back to what I said before about when you come to the shop, we make sure that you have a good time and you enjoy yourself, because you're going to come back and spend more money. As a comics creator, if you're doing a signing and you as a fan have a good experience, you're going to follow that person forever. And we saw that for years. Every time we had a signing, someone that came in for the first time and happened to be at a signing and they had a good experience with the person signing, they go, yeah, put me down for whatever books this person is doing going forth. And it's personal marketing, don't get me wrong, but it's also the fact that, again, mostly everyone in comics is actually quite sound, and they're still fans at heart, and they remember that, and they'll never forget that.
It's just amazing. It's amazing hearing it from your own viewpoint as well, like as someone who gets these guests in to do the signings, and quite jealous you get to go out for a pint with them afterwards.
Look, it is, it's sort of weird sometimes to be able to separate the professional side from the fanboy side. I've been able to meet some of my biggest idols in comics, and I say I have to sound professional when I'm talking to them, even though on the inside I'm sort of gasping, going, "Oh my god!" But you still have to go, "Oh yes, you're a friend quietly. Oh, nice meeting you. How are you doing today?" But it's such a great experience to see that these people that you admire and these people that you put on a pedestal and you idolize are as messed up as you. They're as anxious as you. They're all these things. They just happen to do comics that you like, and they just happen to want to be there and talk to you about the comics that you like because they like comics too. Some of the chats we've had with creators after very, very after hours were about favorite parts of our X-Men run that we used to love back in the day when Chris Claremont did that, whatever, or what did you think of that cartoon or that movie. Scary as it could be meeting someone that you admire so much, they're still people. And one of the best things you can do is treat them like people. not as some sort of untouchable things that you can't even look at,
Yeah.
but people that are just like you and want to talk to you. Like one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Now, back in the day, I worked in Chapter's bookstore in town in Dublin, and we had Neil Gaiman for a signing, and everyone's like, "Oh, Neil Gaiman, wow, he's a big name, just don't look at him, whatever." And the guy comes up to you because we're all in the back of the shop getting ready, and he goes, just extends his hand. He goes, "Hi, I'm Neil." I'm like, I know, oh my god. And he was so sound, he was so nice, and we were doing the signing, and he made a point of signing everything for everyone. He was there signing for 6 hours straight. When he was done, he asked if there was anyone outside the shop that still wanted to get anything signed, and then he asked the staff if they want anything signed, and he asked if you want any pictures. And these are people that are massive names. These are people that could go, "Oh, whatever, talk to my agents, I don't care, I don't deal with that." But no, they're genuinely amazingly friendly and welcoming. And I think it's part of it's because they're nerds. We're all nerds together, and we all know what it is to be like on that side of the fence. So when they get to the other side, they go, "No, I remember being a nervous nerd. Let me talk to these people because I was that guy once, and I want to share with them, my love of everything I'm doing and how much I love their support for what I'm doing."
Yeah, you've talked there, and it's great that, like you said, these guys, the ones I talk to, are just nerds at heart. They have their comic runs that they read growing up that they love talking about. They have stuff coming up that they really wish they could talk about, but they can't, and things like that. So I'm gonna ask that of yourself. I asked about all my guests. What is your favorite comic run of all time?
Oh, I don't know, but that's sort of like a Sophie's choice,
Mm.
because it changes. There's books that I'm emotionally attached to. There's books that really hit me at a particular point of my life, and they might not be the best, but they speak to me because at that point in your life, that's something that, oh wow, this thing I just hit me right there. I don't know, it's one of those things I get asked a lot, like, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite run? What's your favorite character? And it changes. It changes, it depends on what way I'm thinking. There are books like, I love Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is the only book I ever got any original art from. But it's also, I understand that it's because it came out at that particular time in my life and it just hit me in the right spot. I love All-Star Superman. The book by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, which is, again, it's one of the best things I've ever read. But I don't know if I have one favorite, because there's so many books. There's comedy, for example. I love a manga called Yotsuba, and I love a horror book called Uzumaki, and I love a superhero book. They're all different things. They all feel different spots. Like, it's like you saying my favorite meal is this.
Yeah.
But maybe it isn't, because maybe sometimes you prefer pizza, or sometimes you like a bit of ice cream or desserts. So there's so many things. Like, if you ask me what is your, if you can only read one thing forever, what would you read? I'll probably pick something with a lot of volumes to keep me going. But I don't know, like even something as recent as Way of the House Husband, which is a new manga that you can see on Netflix now. I just think that was amazing. And it's right now one of my favorites. That could change in 6 months because I'll find something else. I don't think there's one book that I can say it's my favorite. I say there's a lot of them. There's like All-Star Superman and the X-Men, Chris Claremont, John Byrne run. There's something I love back then. The Walt Simonson's Thor run. The New Teen Titans, Cries on Infinite Earths. I could honestly go on for like another probably 4 hours just going, this thing, oh yeah, and this thing. Oh, by the way, I forgot this thing. It's impossible to do a list without leaving stuff out. And I think it's very unfair for everyone else. So my favorite comic is whatever I've read last.
Probably the best answer I've had.
Yeah, we'll stick with that.
Yeah, we'll stick with. But in terms of the shop, it's incredible. I mentioned already, and on Twitter, you are just gold. Twitter feed is hilarious, informative. I love watching it. But I haven't now. I'm not sure if I just can't find you. I haven't seen you guys on TikTok.
No, we're not on. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're not on TikTok. Part of it's because we don't really have the time for it.
Yeah.
You know, and it is because we're still running a shop full time.
Yeah.
And like I was saying before, it's a lot harder now with all the orders coming in and going out. A part of it is we're all kind of old and we don't really understand TikTok, and no one else really is able to dance. And from my understanding, you have to dance for TikTok. And, you know, I'm not there yet. It's something that we might look in the future, but I think we need someone that actually understands, because all these new platforms have their own language.
Yeah.
They all, you know, what we do for Twitter doesn't really work on Facebook, doesn't really work on Instagram, won't work on TikTok. You know, I don't think if my hatred of Gambit will sell well on TikTok, for example, unless I did like some sort of weird wacky dance for it. It's something that, you know, we'd love to do it properly, but it's not something worth it just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no doing something just because, well, we should, so let's just do something half-arsed.
Yeah.
You know, we either fully arse it or we don't arse it at all.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I was about to say, but I've missed seeing you. I wish I could see you guys dancing around the shop. But
No one needs to see that. Thank you.
TikTok, it's a weird place. It seems to be the big thing now. We're on it, and I can't dance, so I don't. But the comic scene on TikTok is pretty big as well. But like you said, you're running the shop full time, and I'm sure with packaging orders out and posting them.
You know, it's like when people ask us, "Oh, are you guys planning on doing, you know, comic events like Dice before?" And Dice was a comic show that we used to put up here in Dundrum, and it was amazing, and it was a lot of fun, and we had like 20, 30, 40 guests from all over the world, writers and artists and editors. There was people doing portfolio interviews for Marvel and DC and all these things. And people are like, "Oh, so when are you doing it again?" That we used to work so many extra hours because of that. I sat down once, and the last one we did, that the week of Dice, the last one we did, I worked an extra 90 hours that week. It's an incredibly large amount of extra work that goes on top of running a shop. It's like, you know, maintaining a social media presence. That's part of the work, but there's only so many hours in the day. And we also have to worry about our customers and being able to do our job. You know, I can't really tell you, right, I'll get back to your order in 3 hours. I have to film a video for TikTok or Instagram or something. You know, it's not that easy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've seen the comic shops, like when there are people in it, when they're open, and they do be out the door busy. So I can only imagine how it is just constantly posting stuff out. I'm sure there's been many paper cuts along the way.
Very unfortunately, yes. But it is like it's I was saying before, it's such a different way of doing business, and it's every order now takes 3-4 times as long as it used to, because before it'd be like you'd be going to the shelf, pick up a comic, come to the desk, here you go, it's whatever, €5, thank you very much. Now there's a lot more to it, and it takes a lot longer to do everything. One of the things that happened before the lockdown is we're thinking, right, we're gonna have more time to maybe get this thing sorted and, you know, change the furniture there and do it, and we've had time for nothing. We come in the morning, there's orders. We leave at night, there's orders for the next day. It's so much work, but it's also really rewarding. One of the things that we really saw during, especially the very first lockdown, is that we have so many great customers that really want to support us, and people were buying stuff that they were buying extra stuff just to kind of give us a bit more money, or they were putting a deposit into their account. Like, look, here's another €150. Just, I know you guys need money now. I'll buy something down the line, but here's some money right now. And it was amazing to see that groundswell of support from our customers, and to see that, because it is sometimes easy to forget that we're not just a shop. And I think when it comes to comic book shops, there's comic book shops, gaming shops, you know, any shop like that works in a particular niche. It's also a community.
Yeah.
We have friendships and we create relationships with customers that you don't do in Tesco's, for example. When you go to Tesco, you don't become best friends with the person at the counter. Whereas here, like I've said before, we're almost like barmen, because people will be at the counter and be talking about their lives and how things are going and how things are, all of this. You actually create that relationship with a customer that transcends the cashier customer thing. We become friends. We know about people. We've seen customers' kids growing up in front of us and becoming our customers. It's a lot different than a lot of shops where you go in and you even know the name of the person behind the counter.
Yeah.
So it was great to see that support from the customers and seeing that we've created a big community of people that want to support us going forward. And that happened from chats with other shops. That happened with other comic shops in town or other gaming shops. Everyone saw a lot of support from a lot of customers, and that is something that was really, as cliche and as corny as it's going to sound, heartwarming that way. It made us feel good about what we're doing, to see people felt good about what we were doing for them.
And it really is. It kind of just backs up what a lot of people say. I know it's probably happened in other countries as well, but about kind of when you're part of a community, especially in Ireland, people will help people out or you're nice to people, it'll come back to you tenfold when you're in need.
Exactly. I like to think that we're nice to most people. Not everyone. There's a few people out there that like Gambit too much, but I like to think that we always made our effort to help our customers as much as we can, and made an effort to always try to make their lives as easy as possible. And I think that good karma came back to help us in the end, and I think it's still helping us getting through this. And hopefully when we reopen to the public, we'll be able to do something down the line to thank everyone for their support.
Was it a worry at the start, COVID and the lockdowns? Like, were you guys kind of worried?
Oh yeah, we when things started happening, we weren't sure what was going to happen. We weren't sure if we're going to have a shop after 3 months. Wait, we're closed now. We don't have any customers. What's going to happen? What the hell? And then on top of that, it was around the same time that DC Comics changed suppliers and things were all over the place. And it was a very hectic time, and it was very, very crazy. And there was times where we sat down, we're like, right, what's going to happen? We don't know what's going to happen. We might be closing 2 months. We might be closing. We don't know. It was, and that goes for everyone. Anyone in the industry was having this conversation. People were really worried about the future, about what was going to bring. And that was in Ireland, in the UK, in US, in France, Portugal, everywhere.
Look, thank God it all worked out. And like, I'm sure there's the many people, of course, the ones that supported you are happy to see you guys staying open and still kicking, and many years to come, hopefully.
Here's open, yeah.
Yeah. So look, I'll close it out by saying this: if you just want to tell people where they can find Big Bang Comics if they want to order. I'm sure everyone's heard of it by now, but
hopefully yes. But you can always find us at bigbangcomics.ie. You can find our online store there. We're also on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. You can just Google us, you'll find us. We're very famous on the internet, I'm sure. But we have a physical store in Dundrum, in Dublin. We're closed right now, but hopefully as soon as the government lifts their restrictions, we'll be able to open again to the public. The main thing right now is we're open at bigbangcomics.ie. You can buy all your comics online, action figures, merchandise, everything. If you're not finding what you're looking for, send us an email to info@bigbangcomics.ie with your request. We'll do our best to get it for you. And we're here for any questions you might have. Just drop us a line.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. I've had a great time chatting to you.
Me too. Thank you, man.
Some great one-liners, some great opinions. I've had a blast and a great insight into how COVID has affected the industry. So listen, thank you for coming on. I'd be happy to have you back anytime.
Thanks for inviting me. I hope you keep doing well. I hope you keep getting more and more people in. And like I said, just remember, you might be anxious, but so are they, or so were they back in the day. So it's all good.
Thanks a million. And yeah, everyone, if you're listening in Ireland, pop into Big Bang when they reopen. If you're listening from a different country, take a trip over to Ireland to go to Big Bang. You might get a night
Look,
out on the
we've
town out
had
of it.
people that literally came to Ireland and made a point of coming to our shop, you know, and we have retailers and creators, but customers or people that only knew us from Twitter and going, I want to go to the shop just to buy something to support you guys. So look, if you're in the US, if you're in the UK, you can email us anyways. If not, just come in. Not now, but come in now when we're back open. Come in the shop, yeah.
Yeah, if you try head in now, you might be disappointed.
Yeah, you might knock on the door, but we're like, you would not believe the amount of people every day that knock on that door going, are you open? I'm like, wait, let me just unlock the door to tell you that we're closed. We wish we were open. We can't even open to the public right now. It's literally, it's government mandate. We cannot do click and collect. We'll do as soon as we can. We'll do our best to do whatever we can for you, but I cannot open that door for you. I cannot sell anything for you at the door.
There you have it. Everyone make sure to keep the support coming in for Big Bang. It's a comic shop that we hope and be around for my kids growing up and hopefully their kids growing up too, to enjoy the world of comics. And Bruno, you've been amazing. Thank you very, very much. And listen,
Thank you, man. Thank you for the invite.